The sign on the door started off with, "Attention, Satanic Socialist." We're going to discuss in detail each line of this sign in today's episode. Hello, doubters. Maybe you are just as tired as I am of the crazy Christians out there whose rhetoric seems to do more harm than good. So as we look at this picture and discuss its claims, some I think are rooted in trying to do the right thing, others I believe are very misguided. I want us to remember whoever lives in this household is made in the image of God. This is true for everyone we disagree with, something I see us often forgetting. Now, imagine walking up to someone's door and reading the sign. What is your first reaction going to be? What would your impression be of the people who wrote it? Now, let me know in the comments. For me, it would make me take a step back and read it again. When I first read it, I thought it was a joke. And now I guess it still could be a huge joke, but I will respond to it as if it is 100% serious. We could read this first line in a few different ways. One could be that all socialists are satanic. The other could be that just a subset of socialists who are also satanic. Of all of the people I know who wear the label socialist, I can't think of any who are also satanic. Well, maybe I need to expand my circle a bit. Well, here they are assuming that anyone who is trick-or-treating is a Satanist looking for free candy from their neighbors, making them a socialist, I guess. But the exclamation points at the end and the underlining of the title give off a certain tone that I think undercuts the actual message of the sign. And it indeed undercuts the tone I think Jesus would have. Now, the next sentence reads, "This is the home of a patriotic Christian family." Dictionary.com defines patriot as having or expressing devotion to and vigorous support for one's country. Emphasis on vigorous, I guess. Unfortunately, being patriotic has now been given a very negative rap, mainly for Americans. And I can remember when the two went hand in hand. Now, very few people would blink an eye about it. While the Bible is clear that we Christians are first citizens of heaven, we still live in a society with one another. To say that any Christian should have a devotion to or vigorous support for one's country might be too far. Do I think that some of the founding principles of America have their roots in Christianity? Well, of course. But America isn't without its flaws, and that is to put it mildly. Now, I would leave out the word patriotic here, as I think it adds an unnecessary layer of confusion besides not being spelled correctly. Well, then the rant continues with how hardworking they are and that they pay taxes and how they do not celebrate Satan's Day. Now, Halloween has some roots in the Catholic Church. See, All Saints' Day was a wide success in the church where they remembered to see saints. It was originally in May, and then it was moved to November 1st. And then the night before was called All Hallows Eve, which is where we get Halloween from. And there was a tradition of giving spice cakes to poor people on this night, again, by Christians and the Catholic Church. So while some of the roots of Halloween can be traced back to some evil origins, and it seems these people need to do their research into this holiday's history just a bit more. Now, this isn't to say that Halloween doesn't have a dark side. It surely does. And Christians need to be aware of that as well. But to claim that Susie dressed up as a princess is a satanic socialist seems to take it about 10 steps too far. If you agree, please let me know in the comments. Then the sign reads, "We do not give away free candy to lazy entitled freeloaders. No handouts." Well, let's just admit that there are several definitions of the economic system called socialism, but also all of them have some sort of state ownership or community ownership of the means of production in them. Now, I realize that there are others, but people freely giving out candy on a holiday to neighbor kids whose parents more than likely bought candy to hand out as well isn't even close to any known or widely used definition of socialist. I know what you're thinking. Tim, you sound a lot like a socialist or something. And I am not. But if we post rude signs in our door to get out of handing out candy, we should at least try to understand a little bit more about the thing that we're excluding ourselves from. Lastly, it says, "If you want candy, get a job and find Jesus," with 4 exclamation points for added emphasis. Telling people to get a job seems the opposite to the ways of Jesus. From reading scripture, Jesus would disciple someone into finding meaningful work to support themselves and their family. But working is not a prerequisite to help someone. In fact, it seems the opposite is true, that we should help people, as they did in Acts, for example, if they do not have a job. To turn someone away because they aren't working is the most unchristian thing to do. Now, I hope that you can agree with me that this sign is going to have the opposite effect on people I think it set out to do, which was to help people find Jesus. After reading the sign, their picture of Jesus is a far cry from the Jesus of the Bible and the Jesus that I know and love. If this is a sign that you cheered on when reading it, and you call yourself a Jesus follower, I would love to hear your reasoning in the comments. But if, like me, you read the sign and said, the sentiment of this sign is everything I see wrong with Christianity, I agree with you. This sign is misguided and built on ignorance of who Jesus really is. Now, I think Christians can take a wide variety of views on Halloween and how to or not to incorporate it into your family's tradition. I have a link to a video from my friend Mike Winger that he did on the subject in the comments. And he looked at it from several different sides, and I think it's worth watching. Now, there's also a video on the 1 Minute Apologist YouTube channel on this topic as well. Now, I hope to meet you next time as we continue to deal with deconstruction.